a bit of better lighting here under these decorative lights than the ones that keep going off and on. So, here we are outside of Police HQ, in fact, sort of by coincidence. Not really, it's just, these buildings are all sort of almost next to each other. I guess they would prefer it if they were absolutely next to each other. That way there wouldn't be any room for chase scenes. But, so I come in and Miletich is there. And let me point out that Miletich is actually, he's one of the prestige guys there at Seattle Times, or, my not intensively critical view of the Times in terms of what gets written by who. He handles he's sort of in the last 10 years handled a lot of the police analysis type stuff. So his stuff doesn't really come across as being too stupid. On the other hand, if you're looking at the responsibility of the Times to, for instance, cover me and my complaints, he's also the point man too, because haven't heard one fucking word from him in 10 years, The last time I remember ever seeing this guy, ever, of all the stuff I covered, last time I can clearly remember seeing this guy was, in the 1999 scandals when, when the Cameron Davis thing was going down. I've been around this police thing all these years and don't see him, even though he's like the lead guy, arguably, on analysis of police affairs, right? So, he doesn't know about file and he genuinely did not know, and then we all go into the room there, and I ran it down for him, and I said, oh yeah, police files missing, found in an alley in Capitol Hill. He was almost thinking that, maybe I was kidding him or something, acting incredulous, and I said, oh yeah, and he said, what do you mean an alley? And I said, well, it wasn't actually an alley. I believe they called it a maintenance alley. These little areas between two apartment buildings where undoubtedly there's going to be some level of pedestrian traffic as people go to throw away their trash and all that. And that's where they found it, some unspecified maintenance alley in Capitol Hill. How many documents were there? Well, according to the graphic that Como generated, there were about a foot-high stack of colored file folders, and they included suicidal cops, or at least one case of a cop suffering suicidal despair. There were 125 named officers. The documents included original signatures. They were basically police personnel files. And as the story developed, as Channel 4 apparently alone followed this up, they determined that it was a Mr. McCarty, an attorney who is also head of human resources in the police department. And actually, I hate to give 4 credit for anything, but they did at least show like 4 or 5 seconds of them approaching this McCarty character in a parking garage, like they chased the sucker down, And then right inside this lobby, about 50 feet from here, is where they arranged for the soundbite. And the soundbite that he gave was pretty startling and completely mysterious, which is, he said in no uncertain terms, those are my files. I took those files out of the department to take them home, to work on them, and my car was not broken into, my home was not broken into, so I don't know how those files were lost, his word, but they were lost, and that's my responsibility. Completely baffling. Not if you think it's a complete setup of some sort. Either this guy was set up, and all he can do is do a mea culpa. That's like his best move. I don't know. Like, as long as he seems to be insulating the chief and pretending that there was no daring do within the police department, we can all ascribe this crime to somehow, cat burglars that get into this police lawyer's house or apartment, unbeknownst to him or his car, are able to take away a foot high or so stack of documents and plant it in Capitol Hill. I mean, either the guy did it himself for reasons I can't comprehend, or somebody did it to him and he decided that this is the best way to hush it up. Is there any other explanation? Because his doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And one reason this might have been done is to throw a bone to the OPA panel here, the mayor's special panel, to give them something they can follow up. Because I said to Militich, I said, yeah, there's another file gate. You remember that one with Como? And he said, oh, I remember that one, without being too specific. So let's give him the benefit of a doubt that he remembers the famous Como reporter who is being apparently investigated by the department, if not the guild also, for sort of unspecified acts of lesbianism. They kind of had some sort of dossier on her in terms of developing knowledge about her rumored and, unproved or whatever sexual proclivities, being not strictly hetero, possibly, And this is a reporter I don't think is there any longer, so not cast aspersions on anyone sitting behind a microphone over there now. And we're gonna do the battery change. Doggone prosumer equipment. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so it's impossible to recall whether or not the allegations of lesbianism were ever proved or disproved, and that's not our cup of tea, but apparently it was for skilled investigators within the SPD. So that was the previous Filegate, which did occur around the 1999 time frame, and so Militich apparently remembered that one, and then we got on to the, and there was a woman in there, and she was one of the women who testified during the public testimony previously here at the OPA hearing, and she said, oh, did you hear what was on Como about the missing files? And I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, I didn't know. I'm 100% certain this is just an observer from the community and not a reporter or certainly connected with the city of Seattle in any way. And I looked over to Militich and I said, yeah, I did. I saw that on Channel 4. I think maybe the Seattle Times is going to do a story because I just told him about it. Although, they are usually the last ones to know whenever anything's going on. Minor laugh from the Times reporter. And then she asked me what I thought of it, and I said, well, all I can think of is that, maybe the police department itself is behind it. I mean, they're their files, and none of the explanation makes any sense, so maybe they planted it. Whenever you find something really valuable in police affairs in an alley, gosh, is that the random lone nut type criminal, or is that, the police department that's setting that up? You remember, like the big Capitol Hill slaying. And so I wanted to turn it back to Militich, and I said, yeah, you remember, Steve. You remember that note that was supposedly going to explain the whole thing by Kyle Huff that was found in a trash dumpster about 3 weeks after the crime? And Militich says, yeah, sure, I remember that. Yeah, didn't the experts decide that it was definitely by him? And I said, oh, the experts. Yeah, of course, I think I read about the experts in your paper, yeah. In fact, do you know what handwriting comparison exemplar the experts used, Steve? No. Oh, well, actually what they used, they had an excellent exemplar, which was the The letter he wrote, you remember from his criminal case back in Idaho, the big, long apology letter? Oh, yeah, sure. So that's what they used? No! State Patrol handwriting unit used little scraps of paper and receipts from his wallet to authenticate that letter, not the long exemplar letter, which in fact was very cursive and essentially completely contradictory to the form used in the printed out letter that was found in the trash. I didn't go into that detail with them, but I said they used the wrong exemplar. So of course the experts arrived at the wrong conclusion. They said, well, weren't there details in that letter that were somehow, thought to be, peculiar to him? No! There was nothing that would demonstrate any special autobiographical bent in the letter. In fact, Steve, what you're thinking of probably is that it was supposed to be written on the back of a notice that was given to all of the tenants at that building. Not really a building, more of an apartment complex, so easily upwards of 100 people could have received that memo, and even though I've never seen that proved, that is reportedly the material that was used to scrawl on the back of in the sort of suicide note of Kyle Huff. So he didn't know that either. And then I said, well, let me quiz you on just one more thing here, Steve. Now, this is all coming across on TV rather cruelly, isn't it? I'm being very cruel with one of my fellow reporters. Well, yeah. But this is better material than I got out of the panel, although I got pretty good material tonight out of the panel. Because this is the final fallback. Even if these people are all completely crooked in terms of telling you the truth, well, we always got the media to defend us, Maybe not that nut son of a bitch on public access, but the big papers, they're going to protect us. So now, let me ask you this. I'm going to quiz you on one more thing about that Huff case. What was the meaning of the NOW that was painted on the sidewalks? What was the meaning? Final Jeopardy. Was it maybe an acronym for something? NOW? Wrong. Sorry, that's wrong, Steve. The NOW was supposed to refer to a lyric by the band Nirvana. It did? Yeah, it did, Steve, because I know that because I saw it on the front page of your paper. So that's what the experts concluded. Yeah, well, the experts concluded based on something they saw on the internet, Steve. So actually, in this particular case, the experts were wrong. Well, it wasn't a song by Nirvana. Well, it was a song by Nirvana that was on the internet, Steve. But, not everything you read on the internet is true, right? Only the expert, Professor Fox, didn't seem to understand that. So when he saw now in a reputed lyric by the band Nirvana, he thought, oh, that must have been the motive. Not necessarily strictly the motive, but it was on his mind seconds before the blasting started. That's why he painted it on the sidewalk, concluded Professor Fox in his report, right? Unit 609. Well, I'm going to be getting home real soon because Reno 911 is coming on, and I never like to miss an episode of Reno 911. Keeps me informed on. Between that and The Simpsons, you really find out what's going on with the police in this country. you know, about the biggest homicide case in Seattle in the last 23 years. I don't recall specifically whether he got bylines on that or not, but as the lead police guy at the Seattle Times, you know, you would think that maybe he'd read those articles anyway, even if he didn't write them. Maybe he might even have something to do with supervising the editorial direction that was taken. In a big case like that, being more or less the most experienced police guy on the paper, but apparently not. So it falls to public access to point out that in that catastrophic crime, 7 dead, 6-person homicide, and apparent suicide of the gunman, Steve doesn't remember dick about what happened, you know, a year ago. Yeah, I said to him, are you from Missouri? Somebody over there is from Missouri. Trying to get him to say anything autobiographical, because I don't recall seeing anything autobiographical about this guy. And I've looked, you know. I probably didn't look hard enough. But, so are you from Missouri? I said, oh, yeah, Boardman. He's from Missouri, isn't he? No. Oh, no, he's hooked up with that Missouri Center for Investigative Journalism outfit, right? Yeah, he's with them. And he knows that what I was getting at with the Missouri thing. Then he says, yeah, show me. I said, yeah, hey, maybe you ought to change the name, the slogan of your paper. Instead of having that ridiculously, you know, non-essential statement at the top of your paper every freaking day of the week, Washington's largest paper, why don't you guys just replace that with show me? You know, just borrow, you're all tied into these Missouri people, just borrow the Missouri state slogan. Or do you say Missouri? Show me. If you guys went around saying show me a little more often, you know, you might not pull catastrophic boners like reporting without correction that the panel concluded that the gunman was inspired or likely inspired by the lyrics of the band Nirvana. And this is why he spray painted NOW on the sidewalk seconds before starting to decapitate people with that big pistol and that big shotgun, right? So that's a moment of cruelty for the evening. I guess the rest of us is going to come across as being pretty cruel too. You know, I think Berukowitz is now at Seattle University training those young lawyers, you know. Yeah. Training them on what? Evading responsibility, on bullshit questions. Man, that guy's the top lawyer in public defense for 33 years. I mean, he was at one agency, I think, for 33 years. I think he founded the agency. So he's more or less the top guy in public defense. Would you want that guy defending you if you were on trial for, you know, cocaine possession? Do you think that you would want your lawyer bringing up this absolutely essential issue of the fact that the bicycle cop rides out of frame for 90 seconds? What, that shit's going to get you off? You know, you'll be behind that glass saying, what happened, Bob? I thought you said we had a great case. Yeah, well, sorry, man. I brought up that out of frame of the video for 90-second shit, and I guess that just didn't play with the jury. Maybe they saw you as an unsympathetic type. Sometimes juries decide cases based on who they think an unsympathetic type was. Couldn't have had anything to do with me bringing up a bullshit subject like, you know, the officer somehow not being videotaped for 90 seconds. This isn't a trial. The standards are much higher here. They're trying to get at the root of what goes wrong and what goes right in police accountability. And all this guy can come up with is, you know, cop wasn't even in frame for 90 seconds. How the fuck do we know what went on in this case? We'll never know. We'll never understand this case because that cop was not being videotaped for 90 seconds out of his life. And O'Neill was quite correct in pointing out that doesn't mean anything in terms of, you know, are you trying to imply that he destroyed evidence during those 90 seconds. Like, they don't need to do that. It's not like the cops were arrested by cops. If they had the missing marijuana, for instance, could have gone into someone's pocket, could have thrown it in the trash later, could have thrown it out the window of the car. And believe me, so Berukowitz is the most experienced guy, probably of all. Certainly he is of all in terms of criminal defense on this panel. Most of them have little or none. Well, I don't want to be overly broad. A lot of them have practiced criminal law, but not for 33 years. And that's the best they can do in terms of ferreting out the truth in the test case, which was all determined, all decided, 6 months ago. The panel was written. He said that my report was overly voluminous, as you saw. It was 23 pages, exactly the length of the report by Ms. Olson on the Pebbles of Cocaine case. So I guess he didn't read that one either.
Liz and Tracy running down the street, with the camera barely able to keep up, chasing after the bad guy.
Would you guys call 911 if we get in any trouble?
They don't give up. They go after the story and they get it.
Don't you have a problem with the fact that the complaints are double?
Talk about some reporters who will dig deep and will not back down.
People want that. They need to know that somebody's there looking out for them and initiating some change, making things better. If I were doing something wrong, I wouldn't want, I don't know, them knocking on my door.